That'll take.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back. It is your favorite media reaction show. It's X's for Show. Check us out on all your social medias. I'm Nico, Nico Action, NICO Who's this guy?
I'm Jonah. You can find me places at Pete Jonah.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
Which makes me Tori. You can find me at SM Tori. That's Tori with a Y.
Which makes me your producer, KEVO, really?
It's Tori with an I.
I thought I heard I.
I
heard Y.
Slurred.
I heard Y.
Well,
Nico heard Y too.
I heard yeah.
I'm only gonna count that as one half because it's only happened once before, so we're gonna let it slide.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it's because I only have one ear.
No. You can find me keeping count at KEVO, really. That's KEVO. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Keep count along with us. But in the meantime, we have, as usual, too much drag to talk about today.
Oh man, and none of it ever drags me down. Let's get started on where we know we gotta go. We gotta get to that Down Under place. I can only imagine this episode of Down Under was like what you guys would be if I missed an episode. Everybody was like, finally, we can do good things. We have new ideas. Let's try and get the framing a little bit different. I just want to point out, because Michelle's streak is on her left side, and Rue likes to be framed from the right side. I found a lot of the dead-on shots of Michelle really weird and uncomfortable, because clearly no one knows how to shoot that.
Well, that's a great place to start. Like, right off the bat, it's wild that Rue isn't here. And I love Michelle so much. I don't have anything bad to say about Michelle being the host. I only have good things. I was so excited. I love her so much. I want more of this. She's so ready to be front and center stage. Like, there's no problems conceptually with the idea. But yeah, it is to the point where it is so much RuPaul's show that if you really want to do this, you have to go kind of above, and you can't just slot Michelle into Rue's space, because it's literally things that you have to think about, like literally you can't shoot her the same way, and what they did was put her in Rue's seat and then just go from there. And like, it's wild to talk about it this episode, because this episode has a literal huge problem with height. This episode starts with introducing the girls with one of the things being that this girl is really tall, and they never actually manage to convey that as a thing, because that's impossible on television, except for then we get to Michelle comes onto the main stage, and somehow they have not thought to reshoot so that when she gets there, she just looks like she doesn't fill up the screen the way that RuPaul does, because it's literally like camera goes to position 4 when Ru comes on stage.
Yep.
And they didn't change a single thing about the position 4 frame or lens depth or anything. So Michelle is just swallowed by the stage. And again, don't hate Michelle. I love Michelle so much. I would take her hosting the whole franchise, but it's just weird that this episode in total, I was like, wow, they really forgot some stuff that has to happen.
It's a real Matt and Danny in Final Draft situation. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. That is a reference just for me and Nico. guess maybe KEVO too.
Well, as someone who worked in an industry where I had to put in understudies all the time, sometimes there are companies that are very used to this and they plan for it from the beginning. And they say, oh, if we need to have this projection with our lead's face in it, we should also film the understudy appropriately, etc. And then there are some companies that don't. And then there are companies where you'll walk them through the whole thing and no one ever pauses to say, you know, some of these lights are built off the idea that it takes them 10 seconds to cross, but this person is 7 inches shorter and it's not quite working out. All of the lights need to be recut. Everything needs to work. And I feel like for Michelle, this was there were times where I was like, oh, RuPaul is missing. Like, Jonah can say to this, but when I walked into Canada season 1, I spent the first 6 episodes being like, Brooke is a terrible lead. Why are they doing this to her? Why is this happening? This is the first time I've ever defended RuPaul in my life, and I am doing it now. And now I'm like, when will RuPaul learn from Brooke? And so I came to this saying, okay, which is this going to be? Is this going to be like, is it going to be the Canada flavor where it's a group of judges and they all just sort of cycle in and out of each other? Is it the democracy? Does Michelle have the final say? What is it going to be? And it started off with the fact that there's no more RuPaul in the workroom, which I find very interesting because I think RuPaul's in the workroom everywhere else.
Yes, I mean, if you want to count the video message giving the little teaser to the challenge, outside of that, Rue's not here.
Right. Like the workroom doesn't have her pictures everywhere. Like in all of the other workrooms, they have her photos up. But in this one, now it's just the Down Under queens who have won. And I think maybe one of Michelle?
Possibly. It would make sense to at least have one picture of your host.
And that Kiwi.
And the Kiwi. It was very fascinating because I was very quick to note, Michelle said to impress us, not me.
Mm-hmm.
She did not say the final decision is mine. She didn't say any of that. And I think they're quick to denote that
without RuPaul
is always the head bitch in charge, no matter what, point blank, period. But while, so even if Michelle is taking this over, which I love, by the way, they're very quick to denote she's not as powerful in decision making as Rue, but she is still someone you need to impress.
Which I don't know. I might have done this differently. This is a coin flip, and it could go either way. Because we do have democracy franchises like Canada, which from the beginning just felt like they were doing it different. It felt very Canadian, like they're not as horrible as we are. They don't just let there be one nasty bitch. They all take a little piece of the nasty. If they each get a third, they each get to be 2/3 nice.
And that's why they all get to have mustaches, whether they're dom tops, first responders, or otherwise.
Blammo. I was very curious if we would get Michelle saying, down here, it's my decision to make, or like anything. And if I'm directing, I think I might have asked for that. I think I might have said, let's just do fully when it's especially Michelle. Let's give her the final say. I also know that, and I'm curious if this got factored in at all, Moguls of Media has come pretty hard for Michelle in the last 2 or 3 years, especially as Alaska and Willem have been rewatching old seasons of Drag Race, and it's been playing a lot on social media. Willem especially is very much, Michelle shouldn't talk. Michelle doesn't get a say. Michelle's not a drag queen. Michelle doesn't do drag. I don't want to argue that, but it has become a thing where, I mean, it's always been a thing where people really feel like she's okay to chime in every now and then, but she doesn't get a say like RuPaul gets a say. I don't feel that way. I would have liked for her to be able, like I said, if it was my choice, I would have said the final decision is Michelle's to make, and the guest judges all guest judge, and that's awesome. But I think it is equally a valid option to say, we're going to do this more Canada style, and Michelle will host and will lead, but ultimately the language will be us, our decision, we've decided, judges say.
I want to add to that because you're so right. Literally, at the end of the judging, she said, "Let's bring back our queen."
Yep. She does not say my girls, which again, like she's so mom. I would have taken my feeling is my instinct is go for it.
Bring me the baby.
Yeah, like again, you know, she's mother, whatever, haha. But she literally is a mom. She is motherly. She's also somebody who literally said to like people that I was with, and like when we met her during a meet and greet, like, I'm your mom. If you're queer and you don't have a mom, like you don't have somebody who loves you, I'm that mom. She has always been that person, and I love her so much for that. I sort of thought that would be part of the new branding and the brand with this. Again, I think it was really a 50-50. I think it's fine to go the other direction. I just, like, for my creative decision making, I see her as such a queen and such a mom. I would have just said, like, she leads the franchises that she leads in the same way that RuPaul does.
I love that.
I also think it's a very interesting conversation because this was asked on, I believe, the Reddit. Is Michelle Visage a drag queen? If she says she's a drag queen, she's a drag queen.
She's a drag queen.
But I always view it as she's a woman who does drag, even if it's not necessarily we're labeling it as a queen. Michelle gets in drag. Like, the makeup, her outfits. Michelle gets in drag, and I want to note it's very easy to not remember history. Michelle is the one that went on all of the bots tours, all of the tours with these girls. She was the one there performing, hosting, spending the most time with them. Honestly, if you really want to make a wild, hot take, RuPaul is the one who's been out of touch with what are drag queens in the actual world doing. RuPaul's not on the same level as anybody at this point.
She's not out here walking with children in the workroom.
I'm surprised she knows who Coco Peru is.
We're gonna get into that. We are gonna get into that.
We will get there.
I think for me, when they were doing a lot of the promos and being like, this is Michelle's house now, I was like, okay, so Michelle's just gonna step into the role and we're all just, it's Michelle's world now, fine. And I was willing to even accept that the moment that they were like, Isis is going to be sitting as a permanent judge this season, which I think was very smart. Very smart to A, make Isis permanent, B, bring in Sasha Colby, and really just say we're going to definitely have two people that the fandom considers drag queen excellence sitting on this board to help bridge the gap for at least one episode.
It's because they couldn't afford Spanky. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Spanky's going to be there, but
as a regular permanent.
No, I know, but I do want to say about Sasha. I felt it was odd that at no point did they mention that Sasha is a Hawaiian queen and that this is a stacked Polynesian cast.
Thank you.
There was a lot of odd stuff happening with that. And again, I just like, I can't not see production choices in this show. I feel like this is the most non-white cast for Australia. I don't have exact numbers on that.
Especially after some serious accusations of purposeful whitewashing and or choosing members of the white community who have ties to prejudice and racist rhetoric. Like, this has not been an easy road for a people who have already not had an easy road, queer people of color from the Oceanic region.
Yeah. And Sasha was such a voice for Hawaiian people and for Polynesian people in America, because I think people don't always know the non-whiteness of Hawaiian native people and what indigenous Hawaiian culture is and how we have destroyed that in our country. And Sasha really was a voice. And Australia has those problems plus with Samoans, Tongan, I mean, like all over. And those girls tend to be a significant amount of the cast, up to literally half of them in this case. And so to not, like, it was just season 15 winner Sasha Colby and not Hawaiian person, and like like it really meant something when I looked at this cast of it is 5 non-white girls and
which is 50%.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a lot for this show. And so it was weird that it never came up. I'm really curious if it was discussed and cut for time. I have a lot of questions. But to the original point, it was so great to have her there. And I would be fascinated to know if the idea for this show forever will be the reigning queen comes in for the next season, because I like that model. This is just the first time we've ever done it. So it was odd to me when we got the preview for the next episode to discover that Isis will be a permanent seated judge. I kind of thought like it was going to be her, and then it was going to be Spanky, and then it was going to be Hannah. I didn't realize that those people are actually taking the extra special guest judge seat.
I'd love to be there.
I figured it out when I saw in the credits that they were like host/judge Michelle, judges Isis, and his name always escapes me.
Reese. Judge in the world. I love Reese so much.
Out of all the gay best friends, he is my favorite.
He is definitely the best.
And then it was like, and then extra special guest judge Sasha.
Guest judge Sasha Colby.
Yeah.
Looking like a video game dream come true.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, like we could just stop talking about the rest of the show and just talk about Sasha. And if we don't do that, I'm almost like I don't want to talk about her at all, because I couldn't. Otherwise, I can't stop talking about her. She's perfect. She is. I love her beyond my ability to discuss it.
Which, one of my favorite things learning this episode is that Sasha Colby's not really, I guess I'll say, like TV nerd, because I love that she asked very sensitively, is this headpiece too
about the Demogorgon.
About the Demogorgon. Was this culturally significant? She was like, no, it's just the Demogorgon.
Can I ask, is your Snatch Game character culturally significant? Coco Peru is just the monster from Trip.
Or Psycho Beach Party.
So cute.
I love Psycho Beach Party so much. I also, Sasha was the first person to say, and Jonah and Tori, I was going to ask you guys about this because Tori, you're watching Canada right now. Jonah, you're just more familiar and will remember this. Do they use, Sasha's the first person to start saying for me, and she leans so heavily on for me language when she is judging. And my immediate thought was, is that a Democratic judges panel thing, or is that, because it kind of felt like Sasha led the charge on no longer saying like, this look is bad, this look is good, and all of her stuff was subjective language.
That's actually just like, I mean, it could be also a thing, but that is actually a Sasha-ism. Like if you language throughout the scene, she uses personal statements more than external statements.
And that plus her like attention to, is this culturally significant, before tearing it to shreds. I was just like, it kind of felt like she was leading the charge in some better use of language. And the rest of the judges start using a lot more for me language as the judging goes on.
We're not here to measure drag. Drag is art, and art is subjective. We're just here to see how you guys did in relation to this challenge. What do you think, Space Ghost?
It's a very fascinating question. I feel like that's rhetoric that I often hear from guest judges. I feel like it's something that like T.S. Madison will say. For me personally,
T.S. will also just call it garbage.
But she wants to say, but that's just me, honey. Someone else is gonna love this.
Yeah.
It's garbage to me.
I think and we'll briefly touch on Canada in a little while. The Canadian judges, because it's democratic, where sans the guest judge, it's now Brooke, Tracy, and Brad, who they'll have the equal votes. They, I think, do try to be a little more subjective. I feel like I was
going to say I don't think they do. Like, I was going to say that my recollection is they don't use that same language. And I was surprised because it feels so soft.
Because they say, is this me?
No, we're not doing this. I love to mock the French and the French Canadians, but we're not doing it. You don't have the accent to pull it off.
I'm trying to think, because I did pound through 6 episodes of Canada season.
I was about to say, like, that's why I was like, I'm putting this out. I don't think
I don't think they do, because Brad Goreski's always an asshole. Tracy
so
Melchior is nice until she decides she's going to eat you.
Yes.
Tracy Melchior is a drag bot AI who just says
and Brooke will literally look you in the eye and be like, you know what I'm about to say. And they're like, yes, ma'am.
The thing, though, is, like, Brooke doesn't know what she's about to say. Like, you know that friend who just took a big, big hit and also took some GHB earlier? And
is it you?
Are you literally talking about me on mic?
I'm, like, literally talking about me and TK at the same time. But one of the things, I love that Tori called me out and TK thought it was about him. What a beautiful life. One of the things is, I feel like sometimes Brooke starts her story and she, like, and you know what I'm going to say? And the girl goes, I do. And Brooke goes, quick, think of something to say.
Yeah.
You're ugly.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Ugly? So you're beautiful. And that's why I love the sound of it. And I'm like, Brooke, what are you saying?
Brooke is very good at being like, you know what I'm about to say. Okay. But just so we're clear, your face looks great.
Thank you.
You really walked that. You pointed your toes. I think that this was very much Sasha coming in and I was surprised we didn't have more of a stiffer Sasha, I guess. I guess for me, I think if the girls when they're on All Stars and they're forced to judge each other are like falling to pieces. When they're on the show itself, they have to judge each other and pick a bottom. They tend to be extremely catty. But Sasha's up there, and I thought she might find it tough to be so to critique the next generation, I guess, because Sasha's so connected to the idea of what's next in drag and how to bring up the children.
So I think that lends it to, I think this happens with every queen who's come back to guest judge, and this has only happened in Canada so far, so we'll see how if it continues the trend. I think because they know what the show is like, they know what the show asked for, and they've been through the experience, they try to do things a little more, how would I want to hear critiques? What is actually going to be helpful to these girls to help them succeed? So that's how I think, you know, Sasha is a continental winner and a drag race winner and other title winners. She knows what it means to be judged. So I think she's using that experience of, this is how professionally I'm going to judge you.
The trans woman of color only knows what it means to be judged because she's been on a reality show. Yep, that's the one.
I do also think it's really important to note, as Jonah said, like, this only happens on Canada. I think if you brought in some of the girls who have been on American Drag Race to do American Drag Race, they would be nasty as judges because it's funny and it makes good TV.
I know what Violet Chachki lives.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect example. Yes, if you let Violet and Gottmik sit there and be on the judges panel, they would not be like, well, I know how I wanted to hear it. They would just be really mean because it's funny, and I don't think that's a bad way of judging. But I do think specifically Sasha is
a mother.
So kind. She is.
Wouldn't she look cool in a pinstripe suit, smoking a cigar, being one of the boys too? Like, isn't that what makes her Sasha? Because she is exactly what you're saying.
Yes,
but she's whoever she wants to be.
Yeah, but I think even if she came with that persona, which I actually like, please mail that to her now because now I want to see that look. Her doing like her own Janelle Monáe style. But anyway, like I think no matter what, I think she would bring that same really soft, kind energy. And I just think it's wild that it is on Down Under first, which sometimes Down Under is the harshest. I mean, it is the wildlife of the region of the Drag Race shows. Like, everything can sting you, everything can poison you. There's coconut crabs hanging out in the trees. The koalas are going to give you chlamydia. Yeah. The koalas are going to give you chlamydia, as are all of the contestants.
It is the beatings of the second Dark Tower book.
It's also
is crab.
The series where Rue is unhinged because it comes across like she doesn't care.
So and I think they do. She still is able to get black market Quaaludes somewhere down there. So I think the vibe is just really different.
Once she vibe now.
Oh man,
I would.
We probably should start talking about the girls
Oh, the girls that aren't Sasha Colby.
Yeah, this woman actually was just a guest on the show. It's actually not a show about her.
Guys, Sasha Colby meet and greet.
Everything is since she showed up. The franchise has been the Sasha Colby meet and greet, and man, maybe not the best time.
Was just to pick the winner of America's Sasha Colby's meet and greet.
Yes,
yeah,
we were all just waiting around for when she would show up at the end. That was the feature of the show, is when she comes in to give the crown to the next person. We just wanted to know what she would look like. But maybe Sasha being the first guest judge, I might have, after I filmed the girls doing their initial workroom thing, I might have canceled her and put somebody else in. Guys, I'm gonna say it right now. The group dynamic, all these girls are amazing individually, very cool. The group dynamic in this bunch is probably one of the worst in the history of this franchise. For me, worst of the franchise, and extra rough when we're talking about UK going on next to it, where the group dynamic is some of the best in the history of the series.
Season 5, Season 9.
It is a top 10 of all time, maybe a top 5 of all time group dynamic. So between that and the fact that Sasha was their guest, it's Michelle's first season. If I'm watching this and I'm one of these girls, I'm furious. This is a rough introduction. And I do sort of pity them all, because it would be very difficult to get out of the shadow of everything else. But on top of that, it turns out horrible chemistry between 10 people.
It was, I have to imagine the producer made them walk in and say this, but the fact that every single girl said to Nikita, "Oh, you were from Sydney," was wild. Was weird.
It just gets worse and worse every time it happens again.
She's the hottest boy in the world. How do you not fucking recognize her?
Truly, she is a plastique tier.
Yes.
Man or woman, my sexual preference changes around this person.
Yes.
Insane. And then all we can talk about is how she hasn't worked in Sydney, and then the poor girl
there.
The girls are gatekeeping is a very funny line, but that she has to keep using it, and then it sets Vibe up to be like, I'm not gatekeeping, you're just garbage. Which was actually hilariously funny, but it just again, Jonah, that was the first thing that I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
This is killing their group dynamic.
Cass just kind of found a punching bag, and it was just a little, not that can't be it. I know you're not fully familiar with this, but in the first episode of season 3, we had that with Ivory Glaze, but it felt engaging. When Hollywood and Floor were like, "You didn't really do that good in the challenge," she was like, "I don't know why you tell me I need to do good. Like, you're trying to shake my confidence right now." And then she fainted. Please don't tell me, yes.
Best 3-episode arc ever.
I know, because I spent I watched this episode a second time because I was like, I don't remember any of these people.
Me too.
I'm really confused. I was watching a lot of Canada season 3. I panicked.
I was also certain that I was imagining how bad it was. Their dynamic. Not the episode is great. Dynamic. They're all great. But I was like, I think maybe I was just in a bad mood. So I too watched it again. No, it just is bad.
Max looks so much like a friend of mine that every time the photo comes up, I literally say to myself, "Oh my god, it's Jake!" Like literally, to the point where I have been confused multiple times on screen. And now that image just there, I was like, "Kevo, why are you flashing an image of my friend?"
Also, I have to root for Freya. I have to go Bird. She's from Philly. Let's go.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But you noticed, Jonah, she left.
Yeah, she left.
She moved as far away as humanly possible, and I just think maybe that was some advice to you.
And I admire that.
That transformation
Also,
where she went from Beetlejuice Bob character to beautiful woman. That giant jacket makes her look like she's one of the shrunken-headed monsters from Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Corey, this is not a read. I think this is you.
Oh,
I thought this was you first.
Let's start at the very beginning with the fact that once again we have a big campy queen who's a little comedic and a lot, and all of a sudden I just go, "This one's for me. Thank you."
That's mine. That's my child.
She does kind of look like you.
She also had one of the few entrance looks that I was positive, like effusive on. It felt like a look that you should choose to wear to enter Drag Race.
KEVO, can you go back real quick? All I can think every time is now I need to go to the grocery store because Hannaford is the name.
Hannaford, I know. That's it's our main grocery store.
Every single time.
Every time.
Hungry in Maine.
Every time.
Also looks just like Rutherford from Lower Decks. Looks just like the actor who plays Rutherford.
Yeah.
Eugene.
Yeah. Eugene Cordero. Yeah.
Thank you.
Whatever.
Yes.
Speaking about somebody who everybody just decided to shit on for a minute, like there was that like 5 minutes where everybody was just like, so Karna, like you're okay with being terrible on television?
Earned with that entrance look.
Okay, but however, this perm, I'm showing my hole on Reddit. This
giantess walks in.
Oh my God.
Is she a giantess? But then when they're all standing around the mirror, I'm like, so she's 5'10"?
Thank you.
Really and truly, like they get 2 shots. I counted. They get 2 shots that show how tall she appears to be during the entrance, but you can also see that she's wearing very tall shoes.
Yep.
Even here, I don't think she's that much taller than them.
I was gonna say, like, I don't. This was another moment where I was like, producers, what are you doing? Like, this was such an odd thing to have her entire entrance. It was like the Coco and Alyssa moment, except the entire thing is she's tall. And yeah, you can see the shoes there again. She isn't tall. She just has on some big shoes.
Well, she's going to be the star of Tall Girl 4.
Yeah.
Top girls. I'm 7.
It's the shoes. It's the shoes. It's the shoulders.
The hair.
It's the hair.
I know. Like,
it's
she
a lot
isn't.
of it. So,
But it's not.
No.
It doesn't translate to the screen. So it just felt like this enormous moment. I was like, is she going to have... I sort of thought it was going to be like, this girl's challenge for the show is that she is 8 feet tall and literally can't fit anywhere. Like she has like Marfan syndrome or something. And instead, it's just that she was wearing big shoes and a big wig.
One of the greatest legends any of us know in the entire universe, one of the most talented vocalists any of us have ever met, Demanda Martini. She's like 6'2" and this beautiful woman. And then she puts on heels and then she puts on this big hair. And I'm not trying to say anything crazy, but I feel like she would tower over any of these girls by virtue of being tall.
I remember we were chatting in her hotel room when we were leaving, and she had to duck under the door because her hair was going to hit it.
And I'm like 6'1", so I tend to think like I'm the biggest. And then like every now and then you see like a drag queen, a lady.
I mean, like Bob was notably huger than you.
And I'm big.
Bob is another one. Bob is like 6 foot something.
And then when you add heels, the funniest thing about that too was that Bob had on a little kitten wig, and so like there was no hair height. It was just heels and the fact that Bob is large, and I was cracking up because Bob is so much larger than even NICO. Like I'm sure, what is it? Lucina Innocence. Yeah, Lucina Innocence. I'm sure she is very tall. It just was such an odd...
Well, they keep putting her next to Karna, who seems to be like 4'2".
Yes.
And like disparity. I do need to ask, if Lucina is the tallest, why does she just not eat the other competitors?
Truly. I mean, that's how I would have finished that lip sync off, which also...
We'll get to that.
Race, eat the smaller one.
Yes.
This was... Oh, please go, Tori.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I just want to... This was a very interesting first challenge. They've done something like this before, but I often, it's more...
It was called All Stars 1?
Well, All Stars 1, UK, they often start with the first episode. They sometimes started with the first episode being like, show us where you're from. No, show us something else. Like, they'll do like 2 themes, usually like where you're from. I would have expected something a little more like that. And they were like, you're going to do head-to-head, which they've done that already. Again, that's fine. Ultimately, I do agree with the winner, but I do think the actual most successful pair was Max and Freya.
Oh yeah.
And their gold looks were amazing. They also turned me lesbian when they kissed on the runway, and I was like, "Oh, I like girls."
Get it,
now.
ladies.
I like girls. That did it for me.
I like women, and now I like women more. Woof. Oh my god.
I loved starting with this challenge. This was not unique for Drag Race, but this was a unique way to start a season. It is both comparative and also like you got with Nikita and Vibe, thank you, that there was also some cooperation. because you literally see them talk about how they're gonna do this together, and I don't know. I thought that for me this was a blueprint for a really successful first challenge that makes people have to interact a little bit, but there's also this edge of competition because everybody's going to be told they wore it best or not in their group, but then somebody's also going to win, and then two people are going to be in the bottom. I don't know. I liked this. I liked the competition that it brought, but also the cooperation. I felt like, I don't know. I was really excited about this as a first challenge.
I really love that everybody got critiques.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think for me, what it did was it gave us everything we like from a team challenge, which is a little bit of friction, forcing them to work together. Suddenly it all works out without them actually having to deal with each other. And it's also a lot of surprise because these are all looks they brought from home without knowing. I'm very shocked that almost all of them are nearly the same shade as each other.
Yeah.
It's like blue, red, purple.
Is there only one Joanne's in all of Oceania?
Right. Like, so for me, I was like, oh, okay. And so, but it's still saying there's no point where we think to ourselves, they're going to be judged as teams. There is a possibility in the back of our head before we get to the runway. Like maybe if one of the teams is that bad, they'll have to go against each other, but we're all pretty sure everyone's going to be judged individually. So it takes out that question too, where the girls are like, oh my God, do I have to help out my partner more so that we don't both land in the bottom? And so I like that. I like that alleviating of the stupid stuff of teams while keeping it a little.
But I will say I would keep doing this challenge throughout the franchise, and I would change up those criteria. Same. Like I would, if you did this again next season, I would say this time your goal is to make your sister look good in the look that she's like. If you two are both gold, you're responsible for each other. And then I would do it another time where it's, I don't know, like you can change what the principal criterion is by which somebody does better or worse in a way that I'm like, do this a lot more, because this is fun. All that stuff that you said, it is a little bit team, it is a little bit competition, and it's modular. Like you can fuck around with this in a lot of ways and recycle it on the show that loves to recycle its challenges, but like girl groups inspired by Olivia Newton-John doing.
That's we don't even. All we know is that it's her character from Greece because
somebody's gonna get Sandra D and somebody's gonna get Sandy the whore.
Sandy.
One of the things that one of the things that I could not stop
from Greece
as we were watching this is exactly what you're saying. There is more cycling and recycling here than Spooky Bear at P-Town this weekend. And I also want to go out of my way to say that Lazy Susan's look, and you can ask the boys, Lazy Susan's look actually caused me to cry.
It was really good.
It was really good. As a guy with an art history minor, like looking at a painting, like kind of makes me cry sometimes. And I get really moved by art and the idea of a person becoming a pattern, giving herself up to this design idea that even her lace work imitated the idea that she was part of this moment of art. Her suspension of who she was to be part of the art was so beautiful. I thought it should have lost. It was my favorite thing on the runway by far, but I don't think it was a winning look. I just thought it worked for me.
I thought it was a winning look amongst this group. Can we also just talk about the fact that she said to Sasha Colby and Michelle Visage, this little guy from my hometown, Leap. She's 33, so she's just young enough that I can understand maybe not realizing that if you are over 35 and queer, there's virtually no chance that you don't know who Lee Bowery is. Young people, if you are watching this, if you're younger than 35, a lot of us have met the original Club Kids. You don't need to explain any of it to us. We were a lot of us there.
Some of us went to Jason. Oh my God! Some of us went to Jason Mraz shows with a bunch of people who were like, "No, it's a Club Kid reunion. Do you like our leather pants?"
Some of us have yelled at Lisa Edelstein, who does not really want to be involved in this anymore, but is very sweet about it. But that's the lady from House.
Okay, well, I better know.
Anyway, well, I think for me, I didn't know he was from Australia.
I didn't know he was from. I think it's like Summerland or something. I didn't know that specifically, but I did know he was Australian.
Okay.
It was just a wild moment because then Michelle had to be like, "Yeah, I know him. Like you look great. That's my friend. He's dead and also was borderline evil. Whatever."
I literally could not stop saying to the guys, "Can we please stop spending all of our time being obsessed with truly evil people?"
I mean, and that's like his song in Taboo too. Like, so it's
the most evil Club Kid we've got. So.
Yeah, it's I mean, some of them murdered people, so I don't know, but it's Boy George like tied somebody to a radiator. Probably at the end of the day, he was one of the I don't know dark times. I'm just I don't know. It's such a wild moment. I was cracking up. Anyway, I do think that unfortunately that was the winner. There was a weird thing happening where like everybody looked great until you kind of pulled away for a second and were like, everybody looks terrible.
I also take umbrage. I felt like a lot of the girls didn't really have 2-in-1s. They just had
none of them did.
No, none of them did.
I think I give credit to Lazy Susan for doing something innovative where it was, the back and the front was back 2-in-1.
Gorge was cool.
Freya had a 2-in-1. It was maybe could have been executed slightly better because you still saw parts of the tuxedo. I don't know if that might just gotten caught. Not her fault that you can't always predict what's going to happen on a runway. She just kept going with it. She looked lovely. But everybody else,
Max, that was two full Max looks, and the trooper one, the Bindi Irwin was cunty as fuck, even though it was a big jacket that she basically took off.
Yes. I guess because I view the idea of 2-in-1, I think of, if we're going, even if you just want to use Drag Race references, Violet Chachki on season 7 doing the first 2-in-1 ever.
Yes.
And then I think the two most successful from All Stars 2 being both Roxy Andrews and Jeremy, even if you didn't always like it,
Jeremy's
those were two, like the idea of those were actual 2-in-1s where the outfit you are currently wearing is what transforms, not you take something off. I don't know if that was specifically what they said in the dossier. It could have just been wear 2 looks. I could have just said reveal, and they said it was supposed to be 2-in-1. I do not know, so I'm not going to just credit a lot of them. Well, it was also just weird.
Most people don't succeed. You just named 3 insane talents. The one that everybody remembers is Alaska, and that's
that people take umbrage with that. The black dress did turn into the pink dress. That was 2-in-1. Yes,
it's true, but it absolutely did. But the black dress looks terrible. It's not a look. She could have made it. It really could have been like a Bene Gesserit or burqa. There's things it could have been, but she never got there. And Katya calls her out for it during the reunion. Like it's funny and it's fine because she transformed into Lil Pound Cake, and we all will never stop laughing about it. Yeah. But like Violet's is the because Nico, when I was saying Alaska, said Violet. It's true that's the one that people remember as being amazing. But like the thing, it's truly it's such a moment. But most people fail to do the assignment in the first place, and even when they're successful, it's Alaska. It's somebody completely failing the assignment, but what they fail into is so referential and funny and like. Wait, good for Drag Race.
Are you describing Disturbed's cover of The Sound of Silence?
Thank you. Yes.
Do such a bad job that you're like, I mean, it's so referential. I love it. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And here we have Mandy.
Mandy did it. I just personally didn't like it.
Mandy out of drag looks like Windows 95, man, and I am not.
I'm so glad you finally brought this up. Nico posted that in the group chat, people, and I need you to know that I forgot to mute my mic, and when I read it, I was dead. I thought I was going to choke live on air because I could not stop laughing thinking about that.
Windows 95, man, is one of the most memorable things about Eurovision 20.
Does anybody here watch Mythical Kitchen?
No.
Okay, she looks like someone from Mythical Kitchen. Anybody else who watches it, she looks like Josh, with just long hair.
Well, now I have to. Is this a competitive show?
No.
Oh.
Do you know Good Mythical Morning?
What's happening? I don't know any of this.
Oh, okay. I'm much more chronically online on YouTube than the rest of you. Mythical. It's just a cooking show from the company Mythical, which is
okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the clips. Yes. There are a lot of clips of it.
Okay.
They're TikTok popular.
Oh, this is going to be one of those things that I finally see a reference to, and I'm like, I've seen a billion of these.
The two oldest living men still doing YouTube.
Yes.
On YouTube.
Good Lord, this man has an insane body.
Oh yeah, yes, Josh is. This is not my joke. Josh's body looks like it would bully his face.
Jeez. Yeah.
But that is Mandy out of drag, which is long hair.
I also like Mandy.
Yeah. We're still just gonna keep doing like the normal Drag Race show.
I also like Mandy.
That's what you love about her. Go for it.
I think she's like a better Tina Burner.
She came, she gave without taking.
I also think Max is a better Mirage, so.
I've got to bring up.
I actually did say those words, yes.
In the world of the weird Australasian relationship to racism and cultural appropriation and all those things. So this is like kind of an obscure reference, but I only know this because I watched the show Summer Heights High. I can't believe Chris Lilly has not been a judge on any Down Under before.
That's the funny improvist who does the high school thing. Who's like
he does Jamae, private school girl. Yeah. And has been canceled and uncanceled so many times because, again, like he's been on and off the world stage, and a lot of his stuff is very funny to Australians. And again, Australians of color, Indigenous Australians, laugh at it too because their concept of what is acceptable is theirs to deal with. It is not ours to judge, but to recognize that there are questions that come up, particularly when the stuff is on the world stage. I only bring up Mandy Moobs because there's a whole thing with Polynesian men and gynecomastia just as a result of cultural trends. It's a whole thing. And so the fact that her name is Mandy Moobs is yet again another one of those moments where I'm like, this is a weird Drag Race Down Under, potentially referencing a culture that is inherent to the region, that is not the white people's culture. And it just became another one of those moments that I was like, oh, I never quite know what to do with this franchise and its relationship to persons of color and Indigenous people. Because again, this is a white dominant colonizer nation, but that has such a presence of its Indigenous people, and that their Indigenous people get on Drag Race a lot more. Their non-white people get on Drag Race in higher concentrations than a lot of other franchises. So it's this weird thing where there's like visibility, but then there's like randomly one of the queens just is insanely racist and has like the dolls, or a girl has a name that is, I find, like maybe questionable and like maybe a reference to a thing that isn't hers to claim. I just never know with this particular franchise, and it never stops coming up.
Well, if I can just applaud you for a moment, I want to just really, you have taken a couple of moments this episode to point to things like gynecomastia, which is something that, like, we still live in a nation that doesn't want to show period blood, so like grow up as a country already. And I think, talking about things like gynecomastia, like every time I have a fat deposit on one of my pecs during a bulking season, I'm like, that's it, I've got the gyno.
Well, I was going to say, like, it's also like a thing that we deal with here in a non like heritage way. Like there's such a stigma about like being a person with a certain body type. But then that body type actually comes from cultural thing, like it's a genetic body type. And I don't know, it was a weird, like the fact that her name is Moobs, and like we don't usually use that term anymore, but I know it's a little more used down there because it is a thing that presents with a significant cultural part of the population. I don't know, it's just another weird moment with Drag Race Down Under.
And here I thought it was something weird with Mandy Moore. I don't know why.
Which it also might be. It also totally, because it is very close to Mandy Moore. You're absolutely 100% right.
Same way somebody should come on this as a drag king named Crocodile Dundee.
Let me ask the
Why would you put that out there when you could trademark? Go park that domain right now.
fucking upset I am that I didn't come up with Throb Zombie. I
He
will
was so
literally.
upset.
I'm having.
He gets upset every time.
Throb,
That's okay. You, without knowing that it was going to happen, came up with Release Elisa.
Without literally in the middle of the episode, I had a meltdown. So I don't know. I think that Drag Race Down Under is actually my favorite by far. I don't know if it's just that like I identify with things about Down Under culture. I don't know if it's Hot Older Boyfriend, who comes up a lot, lived in Australia for a long time. And so I don't know if it's a lot of his humor lines up with that. And so it's influenced me over the years. But I just love this franchise. Seeing Michelle come into her own as somebody who has always thought that too many people make Turnpike references and not enough people make Parkway jokes. I think it's time that the Parkway of RuPaul's Drag Race, Michelle Visage, step on top and overtake that stupid Turnpike RuPaul Charles. And I'm kidding. She is so necessary when I want to get to Jackson. And so I feel really specifically like this is literally just because I love TK so much and I want to see him cringe. As Michelle Visage is the Halsey of Drag Race, the Jersey girl who is just so tough as nails and would obviously bully Trent Reznor. I am really excited to see where this season is going to go. Truly, truly can't wait to see. Everybody clean up with some Down Under and let's talk about some ook.
My last thing I'd like to say is Olivia Dreams, my DMs are open. I love that you look like a sexy young Robbie Rotten.
Oh yeah, no, that's my number 2 this season as well. Yeah, definitely.
Everybody's number 1 is Nikita. Yes, that's.
Oh no.
Oh no. Horniness.
Yeah, he's the season trade like 10,000%.
Okay, Tori, who's yours? This is important.
I have the problem where I don't think any of them are ever really that cute. I'm still suffering from the fact that I watched a lot of Bombay this weekend, and I was not
very
prepared.
fair.
Tori was in love with Bombay. And
from day one.
It looks like Jake.
Matt.
One more time. I have the pleasure of being friends with a young man who looks. I can't even look at it. It is so exactly.
No, yeah.
I can't even look at it. It literally is breathtaking.
He is very cute. She is gorgeous as a woman. Very impressive. I did think it was weird that they had the moment where Isis was like, I don't know, I can't choose, it's a tie, where I would have just had her say like, I of course can't, there's no way I can make a decision with my drag daughter as one of the two. So I just
Drag Race Holland, right? With didn't the Drag Race Holland season 1 winner isn't it Vanessa?
I don't know that I've watched season 2.
Isn't like her drag daughter and then one?
It's entirely possible. I just this was the first time I had ever seen it, and I really thought the thing to do would have been to very, in a ceremonial, loving way, have her be like, "This is the one that I abstain from. I love you both."
Well, but then she can't. Then why is she here for the whole season?
I mean, I don't think she should. It is a problem that I have with the whole thing, which is like,
Well, if Michelle can't be mother, then no one can.
Well, or I would have gone in the opposite direction and had her really talk up how harsh she is going to be to her daughter, because that's her brand on the line. I mean, like, my dad was my lacrosse coach, and I'm still suffering from it psychologically. So, like, there is a thing where parents who have to do, judge their kids or coach their kids or anything are the soul-sucking worst, and we could bring that up. But the fact that we started on the note of, like, if I had to judge them both, I think it's a tie, was so weird, and it does lead to that question, Tori, like, what are we going to do for the rest of the season?
I don't know. I think that was if she had said that about any other team, I would have been like, this is bullshit. But I honestly feel like both of them were very good. For me, they were a tie. They were both quite excellent. I was really happy with both of them. So I agreed I wasn't going to give it to either of them. But what I didn't expect to be a tie was the lip sync, because I don't think that was a double Shantae worthy lip sync.
Nope. That should have been a lip sync for the win.
I think I agree. But I think especially because such a big deal was made of someone's going home. We all turned to each other and we're like, oh, good. Michelle is proving that she has teeth, that she wants to be taken seriously. Oh, double stay. Never mind.
Yeah.
I do agree it's a little weird for this to be Michelle's first episode as the main host, but I do get it that they maybe just wanted everybody to have a chance to apply critique.
Well, and they do it all I mean, someone rarely goes home anymore on the first episode, especially on the English. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're used to it.
I would do a double elimination.
Rip Irene.
It was really weird for them to do this and go all the way to like saying girl and then making us think that somebody was getting eliminated rather than just doing any number of things to indicate that it wasn't it. Because the thing is, oh God, I love her so much, but Lucina tanked this lip sync.
Oh my God. I think she did very good for her. I think they thought she was going to be terrible and they could just walk away.
I mean, I thought she clearly lost is the thing. I do think you're right that she did great for her. I just think I think she did good for her. Yeah.
I think Karna was very good, but not so great that Lucina was so great that I'm under the impression that double shantays are for when my socks are blown off, and my socks were firmly affixed.
That is completely how I feel, and I just felt
like an 8.
What?
I thought Karna did an 8 out of 10. I really loved this lip sync. I thought she hit the beats of the song in a way where so many girls just danced to the music, and I thought Karna understood the song.
I'm digging them both because none of them did the original choreography.
You were so annoyed about that.
Jonah, it's so funny. I hate that choreography so much. I had the exact opposite reaction. Even though I noticed it, I was like, I wonder if they're going to do it because it's so recognizable. I truly, that dude's choreography is everywhere right now. It's driving me fucking insane. Everybody looks like a horny toy soldier from a weird gay nutcracker. I'm so tired of it.
This is my first time hearing a Troye Sivan song, so I don't really know what's happening.
Well, it's not him, it's the choreographer, and I'll send you his name, but he's been everywhere since before the Troye Sivan thing, but the Troye Sivan song put him on the map, and now his choreography's everywhere. It's driving me insane. I did wonder if somebody was going to do it. I did think that Karna was about an 8, and that Lucina was like a 6 out of 10, but I thought I did, Tori, like you said, I thought I was expecting worse, and I thought she embodied something about herself that like Lil's lip sync was also really terrible, and I kind of see those two as having like similar white girl hands up movements, but for me something about Lucina worked and something about Lil didn't, but I still would have sent Lucina home. It was very clear to me that Karna won, and it just felt so weird to go all the way to the edge of saying one of you is staying and one of you is going, and then doing a double save. I don't know. I would have just done a simple lip sync for the win and called it a day.
I will also say that I found it kind of surprising. We didn't get a whole lot of seeing Michelle react to the lip sync.
Yep.
We normally get a lot more RuPaul, and I think that's because the fandom is very aware of how Michelle reacts when she's having a very good time and how she reacts when she is not having a good time.
They cut to her during the runway at one point to give you that exact thing, and it was weird because she looks stone-faced and maybe a little not pleased, and I forget who it's for, but I marked it because the critique wasn't bad when they got to the critiques, but when they cut to her during the runway, it is exactly what you're talking about. It's that thing where you're like, oh, they cut to her because she doesn't hide it, and they're going to come back to this moment and have her be like, I hated your runway, and then it wasn't at all. So I had that exact same thing where I was very curious about cutting to her during the lip syncs.
Because if it's not up here, Michelle's not having a good time.
Well, and Michelle is...
Can she get a whoop whoop, my friends?
Also weird, also super weird, so weird. Is that her? Is Michelle getting whoop whoops while RuPaul's getting amens? Are whoop whoops a thing? Are we doing this?
We're not true, North, strong, and fierce down here, friends.
Can I
Very
ask?
weird.
That's not mother, that's stepmother.
That's auntie, apparently.
Is it true, north, strong, and fierce?
No, you get rid of that third comma because we don't do the Oxford comma.
Yeah, they got rid
No,
of
we
her.
do the Oxford comma in this family, or you get out.
Otherwise, you would never know how many people are in a group. If it's like Nico and Jonah, and Tico, and TK and Tori, and KEVO. If you take out that Oxford comma, you will think that KEVO is in TK and Tori's group. So Oxford comma or burn. But beyond that, KEVO.
I just realized my drag king name is Tico Chopo. Like Topo Chico.
I am deeply more attracted to you. KEVO.
Last thoughts.
I said to you as the episode was playing, do you think that Michelle was made to judge this episode and not RuPaul? Because the idea of a queen named Lazy Susan would literally mean that Ru couldn't get through the fucking show.
I have it, and I have it prepared. Don't worry.
The name Lazy Susan. Yes. My sweet, sweet Lazy. I love that name. It's great. Oh, Jesus. Gross.
The best part is Plain Jane clearly trying to walk Ru away from it and keep the moment going, like, haha. Can I get my feedback now?
Can we move on?
Ru's not done.
That's uncut. There's no circumcision there. That's uncut.
Yes,
Jesus.
that's uncut.
All of that humor has phimosis. I mean,
I did not edit that.
Oh my god!
So
As
I want to see.
phimosis, Instagram disconnected us.
That's so funny. I want to see Ru meet Lazy. So we'll see if that ever comes about.
I just think it's great that so many of these girls have the exact same perm.
I guess a very popular hairstyle out there.
This perm mullet is taking the gays by storm, let me tell you. And I am mid on it. Mid.
Every time I go to the salon, somebody says that they want what I'm getting, and I have to explain that it's just my hair. It's actually the best thing about the bleach is it has completely destroyed my curls, and I no longer have gay men thinking that I'm doing this look.
Can I tell you that like losing my hair meant I no longer had a thick curly head of hair and was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me?
Well, thank you.
Well, no, because I don't look beautiful with curls like you do. You look handsome. I look like Raggedy Andy with a goth look, and it's terrible. Speaking of terrible, what was truly terrible, in my opinion, was that so few Snatch Games ever stand up to the joy I had watching this. Was every joke great? No. But did I think that I genuinely, as a musical theater writer, I would write for that Elvis Liza show. I would write for that Elvis Liza show every goddamn night of my life. I would fight to get to write unique songs for those two people. Lavoie gave literally my favorite Snatch Game performance, and Shea Coulee put a clock on her fucking neck. And I thought that Kieran Anthrax, I can't even
Kyron Thrax.
Kyron Thrax.
I thought Ginger Twink. No,
That's Octavia.
that is Octavia. I thought Kyron gave one of the sharpest, most, I don't know anything about this person, but I can do it from the trailer of the film.
Yep.
Performances. And what is so hard for me is, as a guy who, like, I'm Eliza boy, and I know that Tori is an Elvis.
I'm an Elvis girl.
And so
together, you both won Snatch Game.
I really felt
It's
like
true.
I felt like I had my brother here. I felt like me and Tori had this moment where I was Liza and she was Elvis. And I was in this moment, this beautiful woman, and she was this beautiful man. And like, I felt so good about this dynamic. I will remember this Snatch Game for the rest of my life as the thing that launched 1,000 nights of a tour of two people.
Oh yeah.
I believe we all know that if anyone won Snatch Game tonight, it is me, because of the guest contestants on Snatch Game
and the
this
runway
week.
category.
And the runway. This episode was built
This
for
was
KEVO
for
like
KEVO.
you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
Our little Prince King.
They were like S Club 7, and I was like, oh, some bitch. Kevo's gonna lose his mind.
So go ahead.
They should have called you personally, a lot of these girls, for their looks, though, because a lot of them were like, Doctor Who, I feel like that's the one with the aliens. And they were just like, I don't know, I got a tentacle from the store.
That's where the runway made me feel a little bit like I was saying Global did earlier when they did Star Trek. Like, it's nice to get a shout out to my favorite program. But you gotta do it. There were good ones.
Marmalade, who shaped runes.
Yeah, Marmalade was amazing.
Californian language into her teeth.
Yeah. But the TV tummy one and the dog penis one, those weren't great. And I was a little bit disappointed that neither of these two stuck around to be judges, and that the runway song was not S Club anything. Although apparently Don't Stop Moving is a lot more popular over there than I thought it was, so it probably would have been that. So maybe I'm fine.
I mean, S Club is huge there, so there were a lot of options if they were going to pick a song.
Bring it all back. S Club Party, obviously.
Party.
I feel like I've told this to KEVO before, but for a very long time, I thought S Club 7 was the teen pop group out of the 700 Club, and that they were super Christian and like white t-shirt, blue jeans people.
I get that because the sitcom that they had aired on what was then Fox Family, which in our area would play like 700 Club from like 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. or something. So I could see you thinking that because of how weird cable used to be. It was Fox Family, then ABC Family, then Freeform, and that's how I discovered the group, because of Fox Family Channel and watching the show. So I was stoked, and of course, as contestants on Snatch Game, their appearance was visible, and that was about it. So I would have really loved judging from them instead, but just getting to see them and getting S Club mentioned. Hopefully that means they'll come touring back around to US sometime soon. That was enough for my little gay heart.
Yeah, I feel like Steps got another tour right around when they bounced onto the show. So I feel very similar. I like that
the Girls Aloud reunion.
Woo!
I mean, we had Natalie, right?
We did. Once upon a time. I also did enjoy Charity a lot in this.
So here's what I enjoyed. I did not care for the actual character.
Okay, keep going.
But I enjoyed her improv work.
Yes.
I felt like she felt a little bit more natural improv.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm just seeing the question mark for the first time.
Not Natalie, Nadine.
Coyle?
Nadine Coyle?
I don't know, Nadine Coyle, I guess.
Sorry, John, I agree with you. I think that you could see that she can do the improv game. I think I would have swapped her and Marmalade.
I think they were neck and neck.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I think Marmalade was so much better. And I almost, it's not that I would have put her in the bottom because the bottom was very clear, but Charity had the same problem that Relisa did, in that she didn't quite know what she was doing with with what RuPaul asked. It's just that Chara is actually a really, really good improver, and Relisa is not. And unfortunately, man, the writing was really on the wall because she couldn't do the
Child album.
Thank you. You're right.
I feel so bad because I felt like from the beginning she counted herself out instead of like what felt like trying to push through. I don't feel like I'm funny. Let me try to be funny, which can be hard. Comedy is hard. The Snatch Game is one of the hardest challenges you will have to do. You're in a cold, quiet room, expected to be funny, in character, 24/7. It's like 2 hours. You're uncomfortable. I imagine the seats aren't that great. Like, we're going to give people credit. Like, it is difficult to be on and funny for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Because part of comedy is the reaction you get from other people.
Yeah.
I feel like you can feel funny when other people are laughing. What are you laughing at me for?
Oh my god.
This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good, everyone.
This better be real fucking good.
Question. Did Charity do a good job, or did you actually did somebody say to her, this is what I would find funny? Because if I said to all of you, I want all three of you to do an impression of Crystal Waters as a pirate eating popcorn, I would think that's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
No, that's why I don't think she should have been.
Yeah, that's 100% what Michelle said as a critique.
Yeah.
She was like, I didn't get it, and then I said, some conversation must have happened in the workroom because that's how.
Yeah, she's like, because I know this one's humor. She specifically is like, I realized that Rue must have made you do this.
Of course.
Nico, the fact that you just can't handle this at all is amazing to me.
Crystal Waters and the pirate eating popcorn.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll do it. I'm fully ready to go.
If I knew who Crystal
cheddar.
Waters was,
It's cheddar.
It's cheddar.
Papa dee, papa dow. No, I could do that in a heartbeat, and I think that's great. And if RuPaul told me to do it, I would do it. And God bless Charity for getting what the boss's prompt was and just going with it. Yep. And like I said, the writing was on the wall for Relisa because she sucked at the reading challenge, which is fine. I can't get over her verse from Dead or Alive, so one need not be talented at everything. It's unfortunate that she didn't have a good challenge at all. Like some people aren't the best at Snatch Game, but they like knock out a couple zingers and then they go. And I love Relisa so much. I would have liked that for her, but I could still see her winning. Like I still see her at 100% as a contender.
She feels like a Roxy in that way, where it's it's so bad that you're like, how is this possible? You're so great at everything else.
Well, and Roxy's Tamar was what I thought Relisa would do, which is like, it wasn't very good, but she had a couple good things and she got it out. Roxy's Alaska was a disaster of epic proportions, but she's still Roxy. Like that didn't, I mean, she still is like one of the greats.
The Tasha salad was okay.
Yeah, it's whatever. But so it's I hoped that for Relisa, but again, like this is what we were talking about last week. I look at the stage and I hated to see any of these people do badly.
It's a really great cast.
Yeah, and like even Chanel, who was not at the top of my list, and like I understand people are gonna have to go home, so like I was a little more okay with that. I was bummed because as soon as she started talking, I realized she didn't have a plan for Coco Peru.
I feel
she didn't have an executable plan. She did have a plan. It just wasn't a good idea.
You guys stopped me from doing on the drag stage when I got up there and I did NICO action as a drag king. It was what you guys stopped me from doing. You guys stopped me from being like, but what if I just pick the song I strum at the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt like there were just things missing from, like, you got the wig.
Yep.
Great.
So the impression, the character, the jokes, and the funny. Got it.
False. The fact that like she referenced Tu Wong Fu but then didn't crush a cup. What I personally know where I was introduced to Coco Peru is her videos on YouTube of her going to like Target or Big Lots and complaining and being hysterical, because that's funny to me.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's like
that's
her. She made like one reference to like the Panettones because Coco Peru loves Panettones.
She does.
But then also, what was that accent?
Not Coco Peru's.
Not at all. And that to me,
my UK accents, honestly.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's true. I mean that we're in the right zone of nuclear reactivity, but this was worse. Nuclear. Yeah, no, I just when the accent was bad, the real concern is, have you absorbed anything about this? Like, it puts you on a bad footing, because then my question is like, have you actually been paying attention to her jokes? And again, I went right to Psycho Beach Party because it's such a simple thing that you can do that is just kind of this prissy, like it would be such an easy piece of impression to do that could get you through the whole thing. It's a bummer. I like Chanel, and I think there were other ideas that she probably had that could have worked so well. There's probably a British person where she wouldn't have to do an accent.
Well, have you ever gotten Come in Your Eyes to Gabriel? It burns.
I'm very mad at you.
That
the answer is yes.
Trick. I'm telling you, I as a theater gay spent so many years walking around going, "Enter you, voila, it's showtime. You turned the house out with a dance and a dum ditty." Like my whole fucking teens was Trick, and I thought Coco Peru was like the consummate drag queen. So I just want to say one more time, like without any disrespect to Alan Carr, a queer man who has fought his way from the protective class of white maledom to being famous, I would like to just say, how do you fucking not know who Coco Peru is? That is like literally.
I don't either.
You're not a famous queer male. Like,
that's fair.
I want to confess, Trick is one of the ones that I've actually never seen. I saw the box at Blockbuster, but I never picked it up. What?
Tori Spelling is in it playing Tori Spelling.
You know what? That would have been off-putting for me before you. That's the thing, and you know that. So that's part of it. And I have never gotten around to it, but like by now, especially the more I have immersed myself in the queer culture, the queer gay male culture, yeah, I know who Coco Peru is. She's appeared on Will and Grace at the very least. I know less who Alan Carr is than I know who Coco Peru is. And I'm not saying that to be insulting. I'm saying that to be genuine. My first ever experience with Alan Carr was looking up clips of David Tennant, which frankly drove me more toward looking up the Cheeky Girls than Alan Carr.
Wait, has Alan Carr ever been on Doctor Who?
No, but he does a lot of game showy, talk showy stuff where David Tennant appears.
Yeah, he should be.
Yep. Or Catherine. Yep.
Real quick, Nico, do you know they're doing a Trick musical and it starts in May in Georgia?
It starts in May?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like pending.
Well, we're going down to Georgia.
I had heard. We'll see.
I would love to.
That face. Okay, I was wondering if we were going to get that on air. You keep talking. I'm going to get us tickets to Georgia.
I would love to know. Make a note that Chanel tweeted at Coco what Rue told Alyssa to tweet at Katy Perry.
Good for her.
Coco responded saying, "You have nothing to apologize for, my love. You."
Of course she did.
On stage, she was so sweet, so like just giving Chanel her flowers. It was, I think
I'm
Chanel
surprised.
met Coco so that she put up a picture of them. It was honestly everything.
I have nothing bad to say about Coco Chanel other than maybe she is a little too driven on some of her personal projects on Kickstarter. But you won't never find me saying a bad word about Coco. I said Coco Chanel, but I meant Coco Peru. Good for Coco Chanel.
Coco and Lady Bunny, the two queens that were really, those were the three that I feel like you knew.
Hey, Lady Bunny, ask me again.
If you're about our age, and we're not going to say that. We're on air.
If you're around your age on the East Coast, if you're West Coast, it was probably like Peaches and Heclina.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
And other people. Yeah. Rest in
peace. But it's, I mean, like the idea that there was RuPaul and then Drag Race and then drag became a thing is a lot of people's conception of how this all went down. And for me, Ru was the one who was successful because she got a single out. And that was basically all. Lady Bunny had Wigstock to me. Like Coco Peru was the movie star. Like, because she kept, again, Psycho Beach Party. Like when Coco Peru did Psycho Beach Party, Ru was essentially not doing any. She was on the radio with Michelle at that point.
Moments. That was like after VH1 had canceled her and she was
right. Exactly. So she had. I loved her, but I felt like she kind of had her career it was in flop territory. And don't get me wrong, she completely came back for it. But 2001, when I'm watching Psycho Beach Party for the first time, I sort of think it's Coco Peru and Lady Bunny who are the successful drag queens that I know. And Ru was the supermodel of the world in 1994 who had the song that I loved, but like shrug, whatever. And now it's just such a different place. I don't know. I loved that Chanel did Coco Peru, and the fact that it wasn't great, whatever. I'm bummed that she went home. I do love her.
She's legitimately my least favorite contestant in several years. And so
wow. She was at I thought she was the person to go home. Like I said, I love them all so much. I hated to see any of them go. She was at the bottom for me, and I understood why she lost in Snatch Game and then in the lip sync. But I love these girls so much that
I just want to say that, like, you think about what she's been through. You think about where Lil started. You think about when she was just playing Talk Dirty to Me with what's
you're
his
still
name?
on this. I'm gonna kill you.
She is Nikki Sixx, guys. I'm not backing down. She's literally Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. It is one of the most surreal things I have ever seen in my life, to the point where I think it's beautiful. I think, like, I grew up a metal boy. Like, if you ask me who my two biggest musical influences are, they're probably like Tori Amos and Mariah Carey. But if you ask me for a third one, it's going to be a tie between Janet Jackson and Maynard. And, like, when I think about the fact that metal literally built my adulthood, metal made me a better man. Metal taught me how to be angry and also scared and sad. And, like, when I look at somebody like Lil, I don't see somebody who looks dirty and covered in tattoos. I see a sister. I see somebody who's beautiful, and I see because there have been some shitty things said about what Lil looks like on Reddit. There have been some absolute cruel things said about Lil on Reddit. And I just think I think she would have been one of my best friends growing up. I look at this person and I see somebody that I would be friends with right now. And I think she is so talented and so cool and so funny and so smart, and, like, I just love Lil.
I
love her.
To have seen Lil's runway from a short before I watched the episode, and it took me 20 tries in a cast of 8 to figure out who it was, because I did not know it was Lil. Her runway was a little bit of nightmare fuel for me. But, like, in the best way possible.
I don't know. I am a big fan of anybody who wants to come and give that Ricky Rocket, like, hard rock boy again. I'd also like to make this joke on record now. If I had a nickel for every time UK Drag Race had 2 winners for Snatch Game, I'd have 2 nickels, which is weird. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. UK won, and now this. They're actually known as pound notes over there.
It's called there was supposed to be a real winner, and then all of a sudden somebody else did really good. It's like, why didn't Bianca win Snatch Game? Like, that's a question that we have.
Excuse you, Ben originated the language.
And De La Creme did fantastic. I am with you, but that's the vibe.
I mean, I really do think they saw that they could promote the tour. If they start talking up Lavoie and Kyron now, they because, you know, their managers are probably World of Wonder. Like, that's what happens when you sign on for Drag Race. Drag Race kind of owns your career, and these two have shown so much chemistry. And it's not, listen, no ethical consumption under capitalism, everything is terrible. So if we just accept that as a premise,
the meat industry is the worst killers in the whole world.
If I'm watching these two last episode with Lavoie kind of shepherding Kyron through talking about this experience that I didn't know you could take people to court for, I'd be a millionaire. But sorry, had to say it. You could see their chemistry, and that's a really vulnerable, emotional moment. But if I'm a producer, you see that immediately. And then when you get to Snatch Game, as soon as Kyron makes a joke to Lavoie that Lavoie volleys back, and they keep elevating each other, I'm a
joy. TK.
Yeah, 100%.
I have so rarely in my life had joy like being on screen with you, being on screen with Tori, being on screen with 2 monkeys.
This is when you have a good group, you can do exactly that. And Snatch Game is tough because you are competing. But it also is, I think, one of the reason that the girls can do so well is because this is a challenge where you can lift somebody else up and it actually can just benefit you. Like if it doesn't have to be out of the goodness of your own heart. It can be, I was only thinking about myself, but in setting my girl up, I got the joke too. And that's really, I think, what we got here that pushed us to the double win was not just that they really both worked well together, but I think that production saw them working well together is now such a thing that it actually is part of the Drag Race brand. Like I would be booking that show right now. Literally, it doesn't have to be them as Elvis and Liza, but the two of them doing comedy, doing impressions. That's like a quarter of your Work the World. They're ready to go on a haters roast. Like they are set. And so if you give them both that win, you're setting the show up for a lot of success.
Well, we're talking about Snatch Game, but do you think that we're being set up for our first regular season double winners?
Yes.
I do think that this could be the place to try it. You're pretty safe doing it in the UK. The question is, the only reason I might think mechanically no is because I know there is some fuckery with how to get them money. Because it's state-owned, state-sponsored television.
They'll just make a new law, pick a new queen.
Well, but here's the other thing, and also Down Under showing 50K right now. This is only showing 25. It would be very easy to just be like, oh, 50 pounds, so different.
I don't know, man. 25,000 pounds is like $2 million US.
That's not the commercial.
All right, not anymore.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
costing tea.
Predict the season started with Kyron versus Lavoie. I think that's how the season's going to end.
Oh yeah.
I do think so far from what we've seen, if it's not going to Relisa and it's not going to the Love of My Life Marmalade, I do think it's going to be. Well, these two are also Love of My Life. Their friendship, it's something honestly almost even beautiful that they're capturing these two people who've never met before, who are from two different generations. Kyron's 26, Lavoie's 43.
Honestly, I know we're not quite as far apart, but like the way you and I riff together, the way you get my humor despite being so much younger, I did feel a very special something watching it with a young man that I see as my mentee, and I am your mentor. And it was a very special sort of like Greek men teaching each other how to wrestle naked sort of moment that I loved.
Well, and it's true. I mean, like
Tori with an I.
Oh my gosh! Now that's our brand. So now mentories are a thing. We'll be discussing later who that gets the first scholarship. But it's true. They're not. Lavoie is not old enough to be Kyron's parent, but so there's a slight we had different experiences, but there's also so much common language. Both being queer men, they're not so far they have a lot of the same references. It's just Lavoie can be a little mentory, a little guidey, and I don't know. Something about it really does work, and I can understand resonating with it in the moment for one thing, but also oh my god, every fucking time I see this, this is Dr. Whovian, because this is truly one of those things that I'm just this is terrifying, and they let children watch the show. Not only do they let them watch it, they claim the show is for children.
Gerald, and he looks me on Trump every other day.
Gerald, cool.
This is a miss for me, dog.
Tori brought it up earlier. But it's hold on, before I even get to my point. This
rest in peace.
Mama.
Killed. Dead. Rest in peace me. I died when I saw this.
This was getting the assignment where I feel like Gerald from accounting. The last one, no, not at all. This one, no. You
KEVO, I did feel like Lil totally got it, but I understand where you're coming from. That said, Marmalade is actually the founder of the Time Lords. This is where it begins.
This is
she will go into space, find Gallifrey, colonize Gallifrey, and that is how the Time Lords will begin their empire.
Kevy.
This is Sassalon. This is Sassalon, founder of Galaslay.
Yes.
And if I may add to that,
Galaslayan.
this is the forgotten mama for the forgotten child.
Yeah, because it's not the Tekaton or whoever it is. God, that's so bad.
Yes, everyone needs to be giving.
Oh my god, it's the tranny.
No.
Because there's the Ranny.
Prison.
We don't say Ranny anymore.
That's good. That's good.
No, what I wanted to quickly make a note of to Kyron and Lavoie, we brought her up earlier. It kind of is very similar to Bianca and Adore.
Yes.
They had this very beautiful, like, burgeoning friendship where, like, these two people who were, it's like finding, it's so, I guess, magic seeing two people who are meant to be friends, to be in each other's lives, meet each other on TV and have a lot of their closeness and bond and that formation on screen. It's truly, it's just magic. Yeah, and I Lavoie having 2 wins, Kyron having 3 at this point, it's truly both of their games to lose.
Yep.
I do think it would be mechanically a little weird what they would do if there was a double win, but I do think if there's ever going to be a double win, I do think it's going to be on a main season. It's going to be this season.
And I think it's not going to be in America. I think it's going to be tested in another smaller market just to see if people completely hate it or not. I can see it going to these two 100%. We're still so early on that I could see them both having a total faceplant that, they can't recover from. Unfortunately, that's what today was for Relisa. It's not that I don't think she can win at this point. It's that we have seen a stumble that
it makes her human.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes we love a human winner. It's never a thing where it's like, well, you had a bad episode, so you can't win anymore. That's not a requirement. Literally, people win with far worse track records. If she won everything after this or whatever. But we did see that.
Who was my girl who went out on the scent challenge that I always bring up every single time?
Ivy.
Yeah.
Ivy.
You never know. You
just might know that you might show up and not realize that Tokyo isn't New York City and embarrass yourself in front of Michelle, and then you can't have the crown.
You might make it might be the Ranny joke and it goes clunk.
Sorry, the police are coming for you right now, so I would get to packing, sir.
The important thing to note is that she can compete. She can even win, but she cannot receive a beautiful benefactress badge.
The joke was made at the expense of the Doctor Who community, and I am truly sorry for anyone I may have offended with my language. I was making a joke at the expense of the fact that the Doctor Who community suspects that every single Time Lord is secretly the Ranny. And
that is the thing lately. Never. Oh yeah, yes it is.
I've been doing that since 2005.
I want to celebrate the trans community being in Doctor Who.
The trans community?
I did. I want to celebrate seeing queerness in Doctor Who. I want to celebrate that sort of environment, that sort of energy. And I do truly apologize if I offended anybody. I celebrate the trans community and love everyone that has been bold enough to be who they are. But that is even part of what we're talking about when we're talking about these sorts of trying to interpret a thing you are not connected to. I love that we assume that everybody in the UK loves Doctor Who, but my glorb, did some of these girls go so far off the mark?
Which I actually think that is a great reminder. We sometimes see these things and put them, but it's only for Americans, because we are the people that will be like, you all love Doctor Who, right? Why don't you all have a Slovene look? And some of these girls clearly have never seen a single episode of Doctor Who.
I was telling them, I'm surprised nobody did "This Is My Time Lord" OC. Someone did, didn't come as Time Lord.
Yeah,
that was but it's also, that's where my brain first went. It was I'm the Doctor.
Honestly, as someone who has been such a big part of the Doctor Who fandom for a really long time, and seeing a lot of the stuff that's going on and the way that it's sort of tearing itself apart. I do chortle when stuff like this happens. I chuckle when my friend Scar is like, Doctor Who, that's the one with the box and all those different people. They're all different doctors, right? They're not the same person. Oh, they're the same person? Yeah, no, you'd be surprised sometimes by what people don't know, and especially after the Star Trek one being kind of just generic sci-fi from a lot of the girls. Yeah. You think something is more iconic than it is sometimes, but maybe not.
I definitely think that for gals this age, it's very similar to what I imagine Next Gen was for us, where it sort of appeared when we were like 12. And if you had a parent who was super into it, you got super into it. Because for the UK and for all of us, like we stopped the Doctor Who train for 15 years or something, right?
Yeah.
And so for a lot of them, they were already like 10, 12, 14. I mean, Lavoie might have been a child when when 7 was on, but you know what I mean? Like, I think some of the first, they didn't actually grow up with it as ubiquitously as perhaps the youths now have. The actual
I would argue girls who are in the younger side, even like the 21 to 25, this March this March is 20 years.
Shit.
Since the revival. This March is 20 years. So girls who were like 23 for this season were like 4 when it came back. So they were like 8, 9, 10 for the 11th Doctor. So,
which is the right age to be a kid who's into the show, but also you have to be into it. Like the thing is, I think we sometimes treat Doctor Who like literally every child gets sat down in front of the television at a certain point and is told, like, as a British child, your birthright is to enjoy this state-sponsored sci-fi television programming.
Like us,
and
we all love Big Yellow Birds.
I was talking about this with a friend recently because we were talking about the fact that some episodes of Doctor Who keep coming and going from streaming because people come after it for rights and wanting money, and there's this sense of Doctor Who as this giant global thing, but it's not Star Wars. It's not this deep pocket actual ginormous thing, even for as big and ubiquitous and recognizable as it is for sci-fi.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, in America, we don't have that thing. Like, everything is synonymous with America, and therefore nothing is. Like, The Simpsons is such an American show, but we don't expect that every single person loves The Simpsons. Star Wars and
the round yellow animated face is not synonymous with the American experience in the way that looking like the entirety of the UK as Doctor Who has portrayed over the last 60 years is exactly the UK.
And that also has to do with like the size of the country. You know, America is technically one country, but it's enormous, and it's like 12 different countries, or 50 if you really consider each state. But you know, Star Wars, Star Trek, nobody looks at an American and expects they've definitely seen Star Trek. But I think Americans all look at a British person and are surprised when it turns out they haven't seen Doctor Who. And I don't know, like this was just a funny reminder that, like, that's not necessarily their thing. There's also like plenty of other stuff that Americans, that isn't commercialized for Americans in the same way that Doctor Who got commercialized for Americans, that actually a lot more British people have seen, like Hollyoaks and EastEnders and The Only Way is Essex, and there's so many like
Street. Thank you.
Only Way is Essex is like, you know, I know every British person that I've talked to in the last like 10 years has seen it in the same way that we all in America know Jersey Shore, and like even if you
come dancing.
Another really good, and in that same way that like most Americans know American Idol enough. Britain's Got Talent or The X Factor, same thing. Anyway, this was such a funny reminder that like we put American viewers of this show put a lot onto weird cultural expectations we have kind of out of nowhere of the UK, of Down Under. Way worse for a lot of the non-English speaking franchises, but I won't even get into that. And it's funny when we have a moment where it's like, oh no, like actually the four of us know more about Doctor Who than like probably
The entire
half of the
work crew.
contestants. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also for me, so Drag Race is still through the BBC, right? Like when it's okay.
Yeah,
so
it's a partner thing.
Right. So for me, one, I was kind of surprised that we weren't allowed, that we didn't see Daleks, that we didn't see Cybermen, that we didn't see like characters that are actually in the show.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I think Lil came back into Untucked and said something like, "Oh, well, don't we all love the monarchy?" And I had a moment where I was like, I don't think Lil would say something far worse, but I think they're all aware they're on the BBC, and I think that might have been part of the contract of you got to tone it down on possible anti-monarchy rhetoric, because I doubt very few drag queens are actually big fans of, I guess, the king now.
I would imagine that's a World of Wonder requirement.
That was
like a contract for each of the gals, part of the NDA. All that
World
stuff.
of Wonder does not want to have shown contestants that are critical, because if it were just a BBC show, they would be critical of the monarchy and nobody would care, because that's just it's a I mean, I should say, like, I think it's a lot easier to do it directly through the BBC and just say these are our citizens using their voices. When it's a partnership with another organization like World of Wonder, that has to sort of remain in the good graces of the BBC to keep the show on there, I think there is a little more of like we made sure that we shepherded everybody to good outcomes. So that way the BBC is not hands-on and knows that they can kind of let World of Wonder do their thing.
I wonder if Crave is doing the exact same thing as both a serial and a channel in Canada.
I can't speak to that.
I don't know anybody else, but if I get a box of Crave cereal, I literally just like pour it on my face like Landon Cider with spiders in the first challenge of an episode of Dragula. Landon Cider, the literal greatest TV performer of all time. He's rubbing my back because I get emotional talking about Landon, the single greatest drag king, my inspiration, my hero, my everything, my absolute reason to be better every morning when I wake up. Landon, I just think about you and think about how great you are. Drag kings do not get enough attention. But I do want to say that one of the things that I think about the UK nature of Drag Race is that we find ourselves in a position where these performers, to TK's point, are being put in a position that is not the main franchise, but they are being judged as though they are the main franchise. And I find myself really curious about how some of these girls would do in their exact same position. You know, I don't remember which one of us said it first, but a double winner would never happen on the American. Sugar and Spice were not a test run. They were a notion. The idea that two people could win the regular season on the American, it would take two drag daughters of the same drag winner. But in the UK, you can do something as expressive as showing the sort of like Julie Andrews of UK history, and at that same point I feel like Tom Holland represents sort of what Charity is doing. Not the queerest, cutest thing you've ever seen, but yeah, it could sing Umbrella.
Oh god.
However,
that was such a string of references, Nico.
Relisa, my dear, you cannot sing Umbrella.
No, don't.
No, should be.
I'm still not sure what this was. I still don't understand.
You guys have no heart. You have no idea how hard I worked to get back to Rihanna for release.
I felt
proud
it.
of you.
I felt it get
so
there.
Proud of you.
I think she didn't know what to do either. I think she was like, I'm told I look like her. I think she should have. I think she should have trusted herself, but it's also possible that maybe she doesn't know that much about Rihanna and is actually not that.
Most of us don't.
Yeah.
Rihanna by nature is, not that.
She's given 7 interviews in 10 years.
Yeah, she's pretty private. There are things about Rihanna I love, but I think certain things are funny that she's done. Where
You schooled us. You literally taught us how to love Rihanna like somebody of your generation.
When an interviewer asked her, so what are you looking for in a man? She's like, first off, I'm not looking for a man. Let's start there. Like, there's Rihanna truly is that bitch. I have so many favorite like Rihanna moments, like her accepting the award and talking about how when she was feeling down and she was bullied and people were against her, she used fashion as her armor. She said, no matter what, they can bully me, they can treat me poorly, but I'll always look better than them. And that, like, Rihanna truly is like one of my heroes. Unironically, I do love Rihanna. But I do think the choice was the problem. Rihanna, it's not like they say this about, I want to use another person, someone you love, Mariah Carey, where they're like, Mariah Carey maybe doesn't always lend herself to Snatch Game, but I think there are plenty of Mariah-isms that are funny. I think there's enough that someone talented enough could do Mariah.
I don't know her.
I think Mariah would be a good caricature. One of those where if you make it your own character and use some of her phrases, it would be good.
Yeah.
And that's a little harder for Rihanna because I don't know how many phrases she has. You would mostly be quoting her songs, and
that mostly be saying you noticed.
That would get like annoying as a Snatch Game contestant.
And Rue can't necessarily be trusted to lead you to the promised land. Sometimes when she says to a girl, take what you're good at and apply it to the challenge, I love that piece of advice, but it is too nebulous. And sometimes it's just kind of that same thing in the wrong direction. What she was saying to Relisa was essentially, you were funny in Love Actually with that character. Take what you did to make that funny and apply it to the challenge. That did not necessarily mean
do this character again.
Right, do the character again, but as Rihanna. It meant go into your heart and figure out why you were able to make that work and make it work here too. But we also see that she gave Charity kind of similar advice, but for Charity, I do think it was a little more, you can make these two work in a way that's funny.
The same vibe led Billy Crystal to interviewing Bill Clinton at the Beacon for the DNC. Somebody said, take this vibe, run with it. And nobody said, but is this going to film well?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Like, for me, I think Relisa could have had a really good Rihanna if she had just shown up like Rihanna when she goes back to Carnival. And is just like super wasted, kind of hungover, doesn't know what she's doing here, but just like, because there's so many photos of her walking out of the club at the end of the night with a glass of wine from inside towards the thing. Like, she could have, and I think she would have nailed that in a way that kept her safe.
The only reason I would even worry about, like, again, nobody gets any training. Like, a lot of these girls don't know about yes and when it comes to improving. So, and it's something that we saw with Asia O'Hara when she did Beyonce, was she kept saying no, which was a really funny instinct because Beyonce is such a, like, I don't have time for this, like, absolutely not. And it's, Jonah, it's that thing that you said, like, one of Rihanna's funniest lines is, well, I'm not even looking for a man. But that's a no. That stops the conversation, which is funny in an interview where she actually meant it. But you can't do that in this challenge because it is an improv challenge and you can't just say no to Rue. So you have to figure all of that stuff out. And like, Tori, what you're talking about is so correct in that it could have just been a funny Rihanna, except she would have had to have known how to do some of those humorous bits in a yes and way. And as I build it up, I'm just thinking, like, I almost at this point want to see them have to do like you're working with Jamal Sims, but they have to work with improv coaches. Because
I want to see Stevie Nicks do Rihanna. I want to see make you cry, make you break down, shatter your illusions of dance hall. And like, I want to see a really good improv expert. I want to see whatever is the Mateo Lane equivalent of Rich Little come in and show these girls how to do that Frank Langella level of improvisational interpretation of character. Because what you're talking about is like Uta Hagen coming in and giving her Daz. Exactly. Some respect for the acting. And I really am so grateful that you're bringing that to the conversation.
Well, I just, it's insane that we come in and we have incredible singers and incredible dancers who come in, and even comedians for stand-up. All of these things where people come in and they will say, like, that's really funny, you really got it. Or they'll say, like, this is garbage, but this is your best take. It's okay to sing this. Like, maybe don't try and hit that note. Here's us.
Stop singing.
Here's us simplifying the dance move for you. Like, all of those things happen. But then improv, which is a huge thing that you can do this with. It's a huge acting comedic challenge.
Yes, but I also think that improv is one of those things where because it's so open-ended and so there's 7,000 ways that this can all break out, that you can't teach it in a short amount of time. Like, you can teach 16 bars to someone in an afternoon and they'll get it.
Yeah.
You can't really, unless you specifically go into the scenario and you say, these are the 10 lines we're starting with, these are the 10 lines you're starting with, and after that point, you're on your own.
Tori just justified Alfred Molina's tenure at NYU.
You can teach yes and, which literally so many people don't know.
Yeah.
And you can teach, you can even say, all you need to do for some of these girls, and it's sad that they don't practice this themselves before they coming in. It's the same thing as like, why aren't you practicing sewing a little bit? Why didn't you get a sewing machine? But like, it's not hard to say somebody is so blank, they what? And then you just sit there and figure out the fucking answer.
I think of season 13's Denali practicing for Snatch Game, where she sat with some people just going over in character, these are the typical Snatch Game style questions. These are typical Match Game questions. Get used to the idea.
Yep.
I understand. Part of it is also sometimes Rue doesn't actually volley back.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, how often are these contestants not picking up what Rue is throwing at them? Sometimes Rue is throwing a curveball at 95 miles per hour like she's, playing baseball, and sometimes she's lobbing it at them and they still miss. So I do think there has to be some accountability from the girl's perspective of like, and like Tori said, improv is hard. Any comedy is hard because comedy is always going to be subjective. Improv, I even said it before, this is also very specific improv where you're in character and like you're not at a show. The crew, I
was gonna say, there's also no audience. Like, you literally, if you can't hear a crowd laughing, for some people, especially if you're new, you have no idea if you've succeeded or not, and then you don't know what to do.
We're not judging your comedy. We are judging your comedy as it relates to the challenge and also Dracula.
When did Jerry Seinfeld get here?
KEVO, would you please show... So for those of you who don't understand, I think that Drac on Dragula...
Drac Morta.
...sounds identical to Brack from Space Ghost. And if you ever want to know, when I close my eyes, what I see when I see myself. I truly see this image when I close my eyes and imagine myself, because at all times, this show is Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And KEVO is my Zorak.
Yeah, okay.
And Jonah is my Brack. And TK, you're my Bjork. And Tori, you're my Tom York. And this is the greatest interview show since Johnny Carson said offensive things to Bette Midler.
Do you like salmon or trouts?
Wait, this is the call it. I've never understood Space Coast Ghost to Ghost.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Space Coast Coast to Coast.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast is they took a few frames from Hanna-Barbera's Space Ghost.
It's like literally 18 frames.
It's the same frames over and over again. And they have superimposed them on the animated set of a talk show. And they have repurposed the characters as though they do a talk show.
Oh, okay, so it has nothing to do with Coast to Coast Radio, which is about aliens and Bigfoot and whether or not the Men in Black are coming.
Statement on what if an idiot was Joe Rogan and hosted a radio show that everybody listened to.
Got it. Okay.
And that idiot is Space Ghost from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but with no lore attached to it.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Gotcha. Which is
and
very...
so yes.
Wait, but who's doing Space Ghost for Snatch Game?
Me.
Oh my God, yeah. I recently updated our little blurb for our summaries as I riffed off of a callback to an old Sports Night tagline of "It's like Charlie's Angels." It's about sports the same way Charlie's Angels was about law enforcement. I updated it for modern times to "We are a talk show for your favorite media," the same way The Office is a documentary about a paper company.
Fair.
I like that.
Fair. I think we sort of talked about everyone. I thought the Welsh Dragon was super good. I would have liked more Welsh, but I think it went pretty well.
She should not have been in the
She should not have been in the bottom. That was very strange.
She should have. Who would you have put besides her?
Honestly,
that's what I'm saying. There's nobody else. They're all good.
I would have stuck Marmalade down there with Relisa and.
I'm with TK. I enjoyed Marmalade's Marie Antoinette. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was fine.
It was very
fine. I thought she landed. I thought it was. I too thought it was fine. I did not think it was a top of the night. But you can only be top, safe, or what?
I have a question actually.
What?
KEVO, you go first.
Well, I ultimately didn't care for Queen Victoria, so I would have put that in the bottom. After all that kerfuffle about them fighting over it, I feel like Chara did a better job with the made-up thing of Mary Poppins, which again, was that what she was supposed to even do, or was Rue just in a slappy mood and just saying Mary Poppins weird? And should she have done Mary Poppins, but it ultimately worked, but it could have rubbed Rue the wrong way? Who knows? It's all chaos, but I think Queen Victoria taking Queen Victoria, what did you do with it?
Not much.
What was it? Mary Poppins for season 4 of UK? Was that because that was the musical? They did a Mary Poppins, but was it called Mary Poppins?
Yes.
So she was just referencing her own thing.
And it's the only joke she ever makes about Mary Poppins. Every time she says Mary Poppins, she says Mary Poopins. And it bothers the shit out of me as a person who personally has decided to be practically perfect in every single fucking way.
Welcome to the team.
I think had Octavia really just kind of stuck to Welsh, I actually think it would have been a lot funnier, because I think of Rosé doing Mary Queen of Scots.
Yes.
And talking in a very thick Scottish brogue that you really truly cannot understand a single word she was saying, but it was funny. I think if she leaned into that, and I feel like she would have been a little more comfortable and just giving us the to her what it give us the full Welsh experience.
Yeah,
I think would have been really great.
Yeah, show me the Welsh drag on.
Yeah, I want Gwen from Torchwood to basically scream in my face, say you forgive me.
But again, none of them have seen Doctor Who, so they sure as shit have not seen Torchwood. They have no idea who Gwen is.
Doctor Who.
Well,
no, her vibe was very much not one of them.
I want to jump in for a moment and
please.
Say one of the things that definitely stuck with me this episode of Drag Race was that, and this was something that TK, I would love to get your and Tori's opinion, that Jonah brought up. The joke that Lil made as Queen Victoria about pronouns.
No, Marmalade as
Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
I worry that Rue didn't laugh at it thinking it was ridiculous, but Rue laughed at it thinking that pronouns are ridiculous, because Rue has made so many comments about that in the real world.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where we talked earlier this episode about Chara nailing the prompt because the judge in question said that would be funny. But now I have to wonder for a moment, if Marmalade really did the double entendre and managed to make a joke that by Rue laughing at it, we laughed at Rue. And
yeah,
I think that's talent, but also because the show only rewarded the laughing at it, I feel complicated about having enjoyed it as much as I did at Rue's expense.
I don't feel complicated about it. That's a great example of why I thought Marmalade should have been in the top 3. Because to me, yes, exactly that. I think Rue laughed because, oh man, that's so true. And Marmalade's joke was, people think that's so true. Yeah, like old boomers think that's so true. We say this as a joke, and it sounds funny, kind of no matter the perspective. Again, it's a no ethical consumption under capitalism thing. You win by staying as true to yourself as you can while also being successful. And if you can game a boomer at the same time, that is the triple. That's the the hat trick. That's the trifecta. It is definitely complicated because there is a degree of, rather than saying to the old cranky person, "Why are you like this?" you make them laugh, and if you can do it in a way that your community is in the know, you're a talent, and that is exactly why I loved Marmalade tonight.
Thank you so much for reminding me why, even when I have the exact same opinion as you, like we both see this moment in this particular light. We see it in unique lights, and it just sort of elevates the moment. I don't know. I've been messaging everybody that's been on tonight that I've been having such an amazing time, that we have been having such an incredible episode. The thing that I really want to do as we play this bad boy out, because this is 2 hours. This is the limit. We didn't get to talk about what was absolutely the messiest teaser for Canada. I can't think of. I mean, maybe the time that Sarah McLachlan and Lorena McKinnon both did acid and beat up. Gordon Lightfoot. I don't think I've seen a messier Canadian introduction since the Loch Ness Monster tried to beat up all of Canadian Parliament.
Why are you talking about Lawrence Chaney like that?
I mentioned this last week. I loved this theme for the promo. I was very excited. Watching Meet the Queens is a joy for the Canada group. Watching this trailer, I'm pretty sure that I sent a message to almost all of you saying, "What the fuck was that?"
Sure did. Well, although to me, you said it as you loved it, and that is the best part of what the fuck is that. Jonah, you are the reason that we took this huge dive. TK had been bullying us. You had been bullying us. And when I say it to TK, I'm going to say to TK, you were the reason we took this dive. And when I say it to Tori, I'm going to say, we were the reason you took this dive.
Truly.
But, Jonah, one of the things that is so exciting about getting to watch 4 versions of Drag Race in 25 days with you, Global, UK, Canada, and Down Under, is we get such an incredible universal selection. I mean, Global makes it automatically as though it were global, though we discussed the ways that it is exclusively ESL preferred. You can't really be a queen who doesn't know English and thrive. But I do feel that with these 4 shows in 30 days, in 20 days, we have an incredible opportunity to consider the greater picture of drag as it exists across the entirety of viral internet culture. Is there one that you have the strongest vibe on of those 4? And where can we find you?
I love Canada. I think, this is what I will say. Canada has the most wild judging I've ever seen across the franchise.
Wow!
Canada they're wilding out up there. Not with Nick Cannon. With their Canadian version of Nick Cannon. I don't know who that would be.
Drake.
Oh my god!
No. We don't talk about Audrey. No. We don't talk about Audrey. Leave Audrey.
Remember to vote on Tuesday, everybody.
Like a
Tori,
negative
you're my
version.
favorite. Oh man.
Oh my god, Tori, you are going to replace ISIS next season. I don't even know what to tell you.
He's not talking about the drag queen, he's talking about the terrorist organization.
You should be so lucky.
I go with an I.
But I love Canada. Some of the Canadian queens are some of my favorites. I literally love every single Canadian winner. Like, Priyanka is my girl, and if I ever have that opportunity to like see her meet Priyanka, I'd probably hyperventilate and cry. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Priyanka is your Spanky.
Yes.
Spankyanka.
And if you want to see me talk about how much I love Priyanka, you can follow me places at Peak Jonah.
For the record, Spanakopita is Greek, so that would be
Pythia.
Pythia.
For the record, Spanakopita is our favorite character on Station 19.
It's also a great episode of Venture Brothers.
Welcome to the stage, Spanny Copita.
I have not watched Venture Brothers in way too long.
I finally watched the end of Venture Brothers, and I'm very sad that it's over. Anyway.
All of this stuff about regular show coming back, and it's going to be regular show, the lost tapes, and it fits into the tape that's shown at the end of the regular show is insane. Tori, one of the things that is the most important to remember at all times is that drag isn't just a white, gay, cis male sport. It is an art form. It is not just a competition. And it is about people who see it in different ways. And I like to think that I'm unique because as a gay, cis, white male, I present as male. By being
you also present as white. You're not.
Oh gosh. Wow. Opa! I like to think that I am subverting expectation by being a drag king instead of a drag queen on this show. But one of the things that I think is so important is who you are is based on where you've been. And you've been places nobody else on this show can be. And I would really love to know which of these 4 shows fits your emotional resonance as somebody with unique experiences that none of us could have.
Oh, what a deep question. Thank you so much. There's a lot to be said for the global experience because I do love seeing all of the other kinds. I wish we had more time to discuss the differences because that's where my interest lies. But it's fine. The amuse-bouche is enough for now. But I would say currently, out of where we are, until Brooke sachets back into my life, I'm living under UK's domain right now. I'm really enjoying the cast. I'm really enjoying all the different kinds of queens that we have. And I'm very excited. I'm also very excited to learn more about Canada. Why is there only 11? We normally get 12. Why is someone maybe quitting? What is happening? I have a lot of questions. And
oh my God. Is someone quitting? Is someone quitting?
It's truly the fact that you hear the audio, with the judges hearing the audio. And that's what it is for me.
Is that? What?
It's Michael asking to go back and talk to Tim Gunn.
Anyway.
I don't like to make a big deal.
Anyway, if you want to find me on social media, I'm SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
And until I get to talk to you soon. One of the things that I love getting to do is getting to make this show with these two gentlemen 246 times a week. I am pretty sure that these two men basically are Sims. They exist online so hard. But one of the things that I am the most grateful for is that, KEVO, you churn out such a beautiful production every single episode. And, you know, as the number of girls goes up, you have to make some pretty keen choices with our amazing captioner over here as to how you present these shows. And so much of what we show is how you see them. And I want to thank you so much for your keen eye for production and ask you which of these 4 shows, that is UK, Down Under, Canada, and the Unseen Global, really hit your mark for the last 20 days.
Well, thank you first. Second, the only thing I wish I had added to this, but probably I felt would have made it a little bit too busy, that I was trying to capture with this cover was the drag race continues, or perhaps the global race continues. Because the fact is, Global All-Stars might be over, but this is still quite the global collection we are going to be having all in this month of November. I am probably the most intrigued by Drag Race Down Under because of the absence of Rue and all of the other format changes. I feel bad. I really get where Jonah's coming from, that Canada is interesting, but I feel like in so many ways, first of all, I am still coming straight off of Canada versus the world, but also I'm already in anticipation of the fact that Canada's Drag Race is going to be overlapping with the start of 17 of regular Drag Race. And that is going to really distract me from the end of that season. And even Brad is not going to be enough to keep me interested in Canada. Who is Brad?
Who
Indeed.
is Brad? Indeed.
I really wanted to share this. I've been waiting.
Kevo, if everybody wants to have their very own Brad Summers, Scott's weird cousin,
Brad Goreski?
Gross.
Madeline's cousin-in-law, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
You can find me over on the socials at KEVO. That's KEVOREALLY.
Well, now for a gentleman who I think the entire universe of, nobody I would call my big bro in this entire universe, nobody I think more highly of, but TK, person whose name that I will say for your legal name, where can everybody find you online, and which of these 4 shows, as I think perhaps the one of us with the most, I'm going to go with Drag Race flair, having started the show the furthest back, has your attention the tightest at this point?
What's the 4th one?
It's Global, UK, Down Under, and Canada.
Global is the silent.
We're totally not global.
What? You mean you don't want me to win? I'm Alyssa. Watch me dance.
Listen, we're very happy for her, but
very happy.
Very happy the season happened and is over.
We look forward to when she returns to crown the next one.
Yes.
Hold on, before I start talking, what? Wait. Yeah, okay. Team. We got to make sure to start watching House of Villains so that we can finish watching House of Villains, so that we can discuss House of Villains featuring Candina Musaka.
Candy Musical, yes.
Candace Musical, thank you. Yeah, we gotta watch House of Villains for Candy Muse.
I'm on another show.
Because
cool. I'm basically a pit bull.
Has she not killed anyone yet?
Pug. It's not done yet. So I'm saying if we watch now, we can get to the murder.
Caught up in time.
I saw a clip from episode 1 where she just laid into someone and no one even knew what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and then this'll get us just in time. This'll gear us up for Bob to take the Trader's house by storm.
And win.
And absolutely win. 100% win.
Did I see that Fierce was on Traders?
Yes.
Traders Canada, which is its own, like, imagine being a trader in a country where nobody is mean.
From NICO?
No, they don't
hide that
their
from NICO?
doors.
So we got a lot to watch. Anyway, it's of course it's UK. Down Under really might get me somewhere by the end. But I don't know. There's Down Under is so weird. Anyway, it's UK. Of course it's UK. UK. This season of UK is so exciting. It's so cool. Again, like the dynamic between these girls, it was exciting from episode 1, and unfortunately it's such a disaster for the Down Under girls that just because I watched Down Under first. And I was like, this is not a great start for these poor contestants, and then I watched UK and I was reminded like it's really bad because they're just, God, those UK girls, it's just so exciting. I really like I was so excited watching season 6, and I remember I watched season 7 live. Season 6 I watched, and then season 7 was my first live season. And I remember realizing, like, oh, they're not all great. Like, they don't all have this exciting chemistry. I just started on an amazing season. And this is kind of a reminder. And because ultimately, season 7 has some of my favorite girls of all time. So Down Under season 4, I'm sorry, I'm crapping on you a little bit, and I'm crapping on the group dynamic of the girls, but ultimately I may end up loving all of you and just being so excited to see you on other stuff later and talking on this show constantly about how production failed you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But in the meantime, UK all the way. We have 1 week left. And after that, I'm just not going to be able to send anybody home. I'm just going to write in every week and say, just save everybody. And we'll just maybe crown a winner, but maybe everybody wins. Maybe this is the season everybody wins. And if you want to talk to me about this plan for an all winner season, not of competing winners, but just everybody wins, we'll do that at TK Elemental on all your socials. Nico, please give a rambling, incoherent monologue just like I did about your feelings on these 4 seasons of Drag Race.
Wait, real quick. I have one quick thing.
No, please.
I think I've just figured out that Michelle has way more say on UK than Brooke does on Canada, because Brooke is not
Down Under or
on Down Under. On
okay.
Down Under. She's a co-executive producer on UK. Brooke's just a host on Canada.
Yeah.
But for Down Under, oh my God, I thought I double checked this, but it feels like Michelle's going to have more say. So then my question is, then does she have more to do with all of these challenges and things like that? Like, is she helping to guide the season as well as run it? Anyway, sorry.
These are important questions, and I think we will discover more. It's also like we don't always know the terms of the contracts,
right?
And this is some stuff that comes up later. But I doesn't surprise me to learn that Brooke's credits might not include the same power that Michelle has, and because ultimately, I don't know. I mean, like, there's also the question of just like what the setup is for the production companies and how these things go. But this is something to pay attention to, because I think it really does matter, sort of how we view hosts versus producers versus who gets called what.
Oh, show.
And if you guys are asking me, my vote, it's for Kamala. Get out there Tuesday. Get out there. Make the right vote. I don't want to fucking talk about this ever again. You guys know the right votes. Not even a question. It is Harris and Walls. And I will talk to you all on Wednesday when you've made the right choice. If you are deeply offended by that, I am so sorry. You can unsubscribe. I'm not worried about it.
I'm not sorry.
Not sorry. I'm really not. But if you guys want to find me, guys, check me out, NICO Action, NICO. But honestly, if you guys want to know where all of my love, all of my energy, and all of my attention goes, it's to X's for Show, X's for Podcast, and HTML. You guys can check out those amazing feeds all over the internet. Don't forget to check out cageclub.me for all of that amazing entertainment. In each one of those, you can find some amazing sub shows like MCU, Billy Club, things amazingly deep dive like MC2 with me and TK. So keep those eyes, ears, and more open. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Megaphone, and more at X's for Show. Me, Nico Action, NICOACTION. If you guys want to hear more of this amazing music running in the background, that's Nico Action Music, NICOACTION MUSIC. That again is Tori, Jonah, TK, Kevo, and I am Nico. 3 things you guys can do for us. Number 1, like. Number 2, comment. And number 3, subscribe. But 3 things you guys can do for yourselves. Number 1, stay safe. It's a scary world. Number 2, be brave. We want to see you. But number 3, evolve daily. Yesterday, amazing. Today, incredible. But tomorrow, that is the dream. And until then, we can't wait to see you. So stay safe, be brave, subscribe, and we'll see you.